Hello, authors and readers alike. Welcome to another featured author interview, and we are now streaming live in our Readers Magnet Facebook page and Readers Magnet YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And I'm your host, Red Sanchez, and joining us today, Ms. Denise Harvey. She's the author of the book Growing Up Sassafras, Where's My Daddy, and Emergence of Me, Discovering My Identity and Courage Within. It's a very interesting book, and we will gonna talk about that later on. But before anything else, welcome to the show, Denise.
Thank you so much for having me today.
It's my pleasure, and I'm very excited to know more about your book. But I guess the best way that we can, start this interview is, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I would love to. Well, my name is Denise Harvey, as you said, and I am married. I've been married for over 38 years to a wonderful man. He was in the military, in the Air Force. I'm also an Air Force spouse. And we have two children. Well, actually, they're grown adults. They're not really children, and five grandchildren. And we live, after my husband retired from the Air Force, we relocated down to outside of Georgia. And this is where we've been living so far. I went back to school later in life, and so my desire was to study counseling. And so I got two bachelor degrees, one in Christian counseling, the other in crisis counseling. And then I went for a master's degree in family advocacy. These are things that really touch my heart when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with children.
Wow. Well, what a great life right there, and family as well. But I would like to know, though, about, let me start first with this book, Emergence of Me.
Yes.
Um, how did you come up with that title?
Well, I had that title in my heart for a long time. When I had went through some trials and some, let's say, illnesses, things that I've experienced in my life, I felt like, Lord, there's so much that's happening with me, but I feel like I'm kind of stuck. I feel like I'm just emerging. I feel like I'm just finding myself. I'm trying to be true to who I am, and that's how I came up with the title "Emergence of Me."
Wow, that's great. And what about the other book, which is Growing Up Sassafras? How did you came up with that?
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
this is a little bit interesting. Growing up sassafras is my daddy. I wanted to tell a true story of children, a child who is loving her father, a father who loves his child. But because of the family dysfunction, the mom is keeping the child away. When I lived in New Jersey, my street was called Sassafras. And I picked
Mm.
Sassafras only because I wanted to nickname her Sassy. I wanted her to be sweet and sassy, and I thought, you know what? If I call her Sassafras, then we can call her Sassy. And then I can even spell it a little bit different to pick up people's attention and so forth. So that's really how I came up with the name Sassafras.
Wow, that's very interesting. And do you have a copy of those books with you right
I
now?
sure do. I sure do. This is Growing Up
Oh,
Sassafras. Where's
wow.
my daddy? And here is my latest book, Emergence of Me, Discovering My
Okay.
Identity and Courage Within.
And with that growing up sassafras, it's kind of interesting as well for me. I do have kids, I do have two kids right now, and I'm just wondering that do they have like illustrations or pictures?
It does. It does. So what I did was this story is a sweet story. This story that
Okay.
while I was writing it, you'll see there's illustrations in here. And then after each illustration, there's also a Bible verse. So after there's 10 chapters, after every chapter, there's an illustration that sums up what was discussed in the chapter, and then there's a Bible verse ties together that chapter as well.
Wow, what a great combination, giving, as well the children a knowledge,
Right,
about
right.
certain. Yeah. So, what about this emergence of me? Do they have like pictures
No
about you,
pictures.
maybe? No pictures, just pure
No
story
pictures,
about.
just the story, but also Bible verses as well. And
Mm,
there's the Word of God is mingled through in the Bible, in through the book as well, but also tie it up with Bible verses to start off the chapter, but no
right. Well,
pictures.
yeah. That I always admire those authors who actually come up with this idea of creating a story and putting like Bible verses in their book, because I mean, for what I'm seeing right now in our society, we kind of need some kind of a like divine knowledge, I would say,
Yeah.
and we really need that right now. We're sort of like in a tough situation at some point. But I would like to go back to your book, Emergence of Me. What inspired you to really share your story to everyone?
What inspired me to share my story was my own life and the own things that I felt in my life. When I was a little girl, and I would always think back to when I was a little girl, why did I think the way I thought? Why did I think that I wasn't loved? Why did I think that, these disappointments and these things that I experienced influenced how the person I am today? So when I'm looking at the person I was today, I wanted to look back and then discover those things that may have, and I know, influenced my walk. And it's not only me. There's a lot of people who go through the same thing. There's every person we know suffers rejection, deals with disappointment,
Exactly.
deals with identity, deals with imposter syndrome. But it's how we react to those situations. It's how we see ourselves as opposed to how the world is imposing their views on us. And so I wanted to write a story and tie it in with the Bible and show that, you know what, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to need more out of life. It's okay to question different things, but it's also more important to forgive yourself and forgive others as well. So I just wanted to
That's
teach
true.
those principles in both books, actually.
Wow. So that includes the growing up sassafras, right?
Yeah. With
Wow.
Sassafras, because I
Hmm.
wanted to talk about, I didn't want to just tell a children's story like a little fairy tale. There's enough of those, I felt. I really wanted to dig a little bit deeper and say, look, this is a problem that we see happening in the world today. There's so
Hmm.
many children that are growing up without one or both parents in the world. But there's also a lot of dads who desire to be there for their children. There's dads that desire to be there for their children but can't, whatever the circumstance may be. But there's circumstances that are happening that don't have to happen. When two people are being adult and are trying to work through the situation for the best situation for their child, when they put their child in the center, and you know what? We may not disagree, we may not love each other, we may have made a mistake, but you know what? This baby right here didn't ask for that. This baby here deserves
Exactly.
the best that we can to give them. They deserve to have two parents who love them and desire to do the best for them. And that's where I came with Sassafras. So what I did with that story, I called it Wisdom from the Grandparents. In every book that I write dealing with children, I want to have the grandparents in the background, instilling the love of God, instilling the love on their grandchildren, and teaching their grandchildren that, listen, you may be a baby, but God loves you. God sees your tears. God hears your heart, and He wants the very best for you. So don't give up. And then I want to take the grandparents and speak to their child, their grown child. Not so much where they're fussing at them and all that, but they're gently imparting wisdom into that child so that they can see, you know what, my mom or my dad, they're right, and I can do better, and I can do better for my family.
Wow, that really touched me. And I mean, I have that kind of experience as well. I mean, I grew up with my grandparents, so I
Yes,
didn't get a
yes,
chance to really, live with my dad or with my mom, like
right,
together, like
right.
all of us. Like,
Yep,
unfortunately, it was not a lucky time for us. But I mean, you're right. If both party can agree that they will take care of this child, you will be able to grow you know in a way that they can teach you the right thing, not those things that you see in the street, stuff like
yes,
that.
right,
and
right.
and I guess we have to really get this book out there, because I know there's not just one, but there's probably thousands or maybe millions of kids out there that that is currently experiencing this kind of situation. But
Yes,
of course, going back to your book, Emergence of Me, that's also very inspiring. Especially, you were able to overcome some of those trials in life, and I know that we all experience that right now as we speak. And
exactly.
we just have to really learn or probably read something to know what we need to do in the future or tomorrow or right now. Because at some point our our brain is like, it's a little bit distorted. When you have a lot of problems and we can't think properly, and sometimes we just need someone to talk to, or maybe a book like this to help us understand how life is or really is. But
Not just that, it will open up someone's mind that if they are
exactly,
going through something, they will then desire to reach out for help or even dig deeper into themselves to figure out what they can do. Because when you're reading it, you know when you're reading something if it identifies with you and if it speaks to
that's
your
true.
spirit. And I'm hoping that through that book, it'll reach someone who may be going through the same thing, thinking that they're not enough, thinking that they're not pretty enough, thinking that they're not, smart enough. But yet the word of God says we are more than conquerors and you are capable of it. It's just how do we see ourselves?
That's true, and I can definitely agree that this book will be able to inspire a lot of people. Because right now, so far when I checked that book, it got a good rating in Amazon. So hopefully we can you can have more readers for this book, and you can have more people to inspire, or to hopefully help them, change the way they see their lives right now. But I would like to ask you as well, what is the hardest part of writing your own story?
The hardest part for me wasn't so much staying on task, showing up, put the hours in the right. But there were times that even in both stories, I find myself identifying so hard with it that I would start crying when I'm writing it because it would touch my heart. And even with the children's book, I was writing parts of the book that um, if her heart is broken, I'm literally tears are literally coming down my face while I'm writing, and I would literally stop, get the tissue, I would start praying, and that became really. I was like, oh my gosh, is this always going to be like this for me when I write? And then I thought, well, you know what, Denise, I think that if you're feeling this way, how much more will someone else feel when they're reading it? You want to touch a reader's heart. You want to touch and help them feel what you're feeling for this child here. So therefore, that's kind of the things I was going through. A lot of even and then with the emergence of me, it was pulling out emotions. It was pulling out things in my head that I did experience, maybe things that I kind of shut out, things I forgot about. And there were times that it was making me kind of go back into that feeling that it invoked when I went through it. But at the same time, it was a cleansing for me. It truly was a cleansing for me.
What would be the like the most important lesson that you can get out of your books?
To be open to hear what God has to say to your heart, to be open to know how important it is to forgive others, even when they've done wrong. The forgiveness is not for them. They are still wrong, especially if it was something really bad. But you know what? The forgiveness is for us to release and live and know that we can carry on regardless, and no one else in the unforgiveness is not holding us bondage to that situation. So just to have an open mind and an open heart, for other people.
And if you could like meet your or go back in time and meet your younger self, what would you say to her?
Oh my. I would say, Denise, you one day you are going to come to realize just how special you are in God's eyes. And no matter what, don't give up. Don't give up. Continue to go to what He's placed in your heart to do.
Wow, that's very touching as well. And going back to, I would like also to ask this question to about the book, "Growing Up Sassafras." Are you planning to write another, like maybe a sequel of that, or maybe?
It's funny
Yeah,
that
go
you
ahead.
asked.
I
You
was
can
just
answer
wondering
that
because it's really
question.
interesting, and there's character in there, and I guess it's sometimes some of the authors they tend to think that, okay, let me write another one for this, like a part two of my book.
I do.
Are you
I
planning?
do.
You do.
Yep. There's a little boy in this story. His name is Jeremiah. He is her friend. And Jeremiah's story, I was looking to see if I can find a picture of him here. Jeremiah's story is one where it's a little sad. His mother passed away. His mother died of cancer. So the story with Jeremiah is that his father is mad at God because he didn't save, he feels that you save other people have this, horrible disease and they still make it. Why didn't my wife make it? Why didn't my wife still live? She had us and she has a child, and she loved you. Why did she not live? So Jeremiah's father stopped taking to church. Well, Sassy is his friend, and she invites him to come to church with them, and Jeremiah is so excited, and he comes with her. And it's in that story that I had other people asking me, well, what about Jeremiah? What about Jeremiah? And I said, this is not his story. This is Sassy's story. His story is the one to come. So in his story, I started, it's called Hurting Little Hearts. I Miss My Mommy. And we're going to deal with the same thing. We're going to have, what I did was because of my, fact that my husband was in the military. So I got that kind of, military family knowledge in the background.
Right.
I placed his father in the military. And so what I did was because his wife passed away, I'm having his parents move close to him to help take care of their son, excuse me, their grandson when he has to boy. And it's going to be the grandparents that help their son understand that no matter what happened, God still loves you and he's still good. And he still loves your wife, even though these things have happened. And not only are they going to help their son, but they're going to help their grandson see the good too, and see where they are and see that they can still go on in their life, even though mom is physically no longer here with them. So that's the second children's book.
Wow. Well, I bet most of your readers and upcoming readers as well are now, let's just say, excited to see that. And when are you planning to publish that?
Boy, it would sure be nice if I can get finished with that this year. I know this is October, but it would be a wonderful thing for me to actually get it done. But at the same time, I have another book for After Emergence of Me as well called He Restores. And that book is not going to be a story about my life, it's going to be a fictional book. But I wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to take a family that's broken, and I want to talk about all the different family dysfunctions and unforgiveness and unhealed wounds, and introduce and watch God work through this family and show what he can do. And so now I have two books at the same time, trying to, one over here and one over here. And it's like, okay, I need to get both of them done. So I don't know how soon I can get one or the other done, but that's what I'm working towards right now for both of them.
Well, I know it's not easy to write a book. Sometimes some other authors takes them ages to even get it done. So, just probably take your time on it, make it more,
Yes.
yeah, like put all the spices in there just to make sure
Yeah.
that they're gonna enjoy it.
Yes, and make
They're
do
gonna
it
enjoy it
well.
by the end of the day. Yeah, because
Yes,
I know
yes,
you need to do a lot of research as well, especially creating a story of someone else, or maybe putting some characters in there. You need to somehow
yes,
uh, you know try
yes.
to discover, or yeah,
For the
exactly.
fictional
So
book, it's a lot of research that I'm finding, and I was really blessed to be able to attend a retreat this weekend, last
oh,
weekend, and in the retreat, it was actually on a lake, and that is where my book takes place. And I felt kind of stuck because the scene and what I wanted to create, I hadn't really experienced. Not like I wanted to write it, not like I saw it in my head. Well, this past weekend, everything I needed, I experienced. I saw myself, I
that's good.
saw the mother sitting there, and I was able to say, now I can go forward with writing this book.
Well, that's a good thing about being so, let's just say, like if you travel or if you do a lot of things, that's when you learn new things as well,
Yeah.
especially for your book. But what would be your, let's just say, the most valuable piece of advice that you can give to our audience right now?
I know right now we are in a world that is hurting. There's so much going on. There's so much negative. There's so much bad. There's so much discouragement. Whether it's from COVID or sickness or whether it's from unemployment and people lacking so much. But we still have to have faith. We still have to know and trust and believe that there is good out there in the world for us, that God loves us. And we also have to know that we're enough. We don't have to live up to someone else's expectations or what we see in the media, what we see on TV. You have to know and trust and believe that you are enough and that you're enough.
Well, thank you so much for that one, Denise. And
Mhm.
for those who are watching us live right now, you can grab a copy of Denise Harvey's book, Growing Up Sassafras, Where's My Daddy, and Emergence of Me, Discovering My Identity and the Courage Within. That's available in Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and you also have two websites, right?
Yes, yes. The
And
main book website is deniseharvey.com. And so both of those links are that website. And the other website is actually for the emergence of me and for the coaching program, Emerge and Restore, that I have.
yep, there you go, guys. So again, emergence. What is this? The website, emerge
Emerge
and
and Restore. Yeah,
restore.com.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I got confused right there, but emerge and store.com and deniseharvey.com. And you might be seeing that right now on the screen. So that's where you can find or learn more about Denise and about her books. But thank you so much, Denise, for your time today. I really
Thank
appreciate that.
you. Thank you for having me. This has been nice.
Well, it's our pleasure as well to help you share your story to the world. So, yeah, enjoy the rest of your day and good luck with your book.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Yep, and as we say here with Readers Magnet, we share your story with the world. Goodbye.